Okay. Let's get back into this. So, in terms of where I left this off last week, I've done a tiny amount of work at home. Not so much in the sculpt, but actually getting this to be remeshed with new topology so that I can work on this a little bit easier. So if we take a look at it, all right, it's relatively uninteresting if you're not interested in this sort of thing. But I've got proper quadded topology that's also pretty animation ready. So the point of doing this, right, is that ZBrush in general will sculpt better with nice kind of evenly spaced quads. I do have, you know, a little bit more density in areas like the eyes. But yeah, overall it makes it easier to sculpt with. And what I've also done is with this remesh is I've also unwrapped some UVs so that I could eventually go through and do like the way I'm probably going to approach doing pore details on this, and eventually a texture map. So if we take a look right under UV map and take a look, that's kind of going a bit funky, and that's because I've got two UDIMs, right, which at the moment ZBrush is recognizing as being on the same tile, but it's going to be fine for what we need, which will be at some stage I'll export out a displacement map so I can set this up for renders inside of Maya. So kind of a bit boring, but it's just, you know, a bit of housekeeping and just, you know, setting myself up for the future. So nothing super exciting there. But in terms of the actual sculpt, this is what it's currently looking like. So the hair is just kind of a rough sort of quick block in just to start getting you know, a bit of an idea of what the hair will look like. But I'm going to eventually do this in XGen, so it is just a rough sort of block in, though I might refine it a little bit today just to make it look a little bit more presentable as just a sculpt. What I will do today is I'm going to start adding in some of these asymmetrical details. So in terms of the concept, she's relatively symmetrical. You know, it doesn't have to be a asymmetrical face. I might maybe make her nose a little bit bigger just to try and stick a little bit closer to this concept. Might push in a little bit of this eye detail as well. You know, figure out how exactly like this we're going to stick or get to. But what I will then also do is start to add in like this scar. I think I'd rather add this in before I start thinking about pores. And, you know, start maybe doing a bit more detail in the horns. So yeah. So what I'll do is just to kind of start off, I might just go through and make some changes that I'm seeing to the general like shape. So like I mentioned, maybe making this nose a little less kind of skinny and pointy, and I might also take a look at maybe pushing this brow up here on the corner, because that's kind of giving her like that evil sort of appearance. I do want to be careful that I don't push it too far that it becomes just unappealing to look at, but that's what I'm going to do for the moment, and then yeah, take a look at doing some finer details. Just going to change that, and I might push that down to slightly lower resolution. So another benefit of having my topology set up, and I did have this benefit last week because I had a quick Z-remesh model, but I've got the ability just to go up and down my subdivision levels which is going to make it easier to make some of these adjustments. So let's grab our mask lasso. I'm just gonna mask off her eye here, and just take a look at, with my move brush, maybe just pushing this up a little. Try and really exaggerate that bit there, and also maybe bring a bit more there. Yeah, so that's going to start giving her a much more kind of sinister look. Alrighty, I kind of like that a little bit more. Next thing was maybe to push this part of her face in. This, for some reason, I've got a mask or a lazy mouse enabled, which I don't want. Stroke, lazy mouse. Don't want lazy mouse on that. There we go. Let's get rid of, mask that off. Let's have a think about trying to push this bit in. Just try and get it to look sort of evil. That's mostly going to be in her eyes there. Okay. Might come back in and build a little bit more volume in this part up here. So I'm not going to add a lot there, but yeah, just trying to make it just look a little bit more kind of grumpy, I guess. We might put in a little bit of a brow furrow there. Some of that we can refine once I start doing like some paws and stuff. Yeah, that feels okay. So taking another look at a nose, what I want to do is maybe just change this shape in here a little. Not have it just be so narrow. Or not destroying some of what I've got. Just trying to, yeah, make it not so kind of Victoria Beckham-y. And then I also just want to maybe taking a look, right, like, so this concept, she's got like a real thick sort of part here, which I'm not sure how well it's going to translate. So try and build that up a little. Just see what that does. Okay, I think we can work with that. I think if I build that up a little. Kind of makes it look vaguely like she's snarling. I just don't want to go too far that it ends up making it look kind kind of masculine or creepy. What's that adding? RGB color. So, like, outside of doing the kind of topology stuff, I haven't really looked at the sculpt. So, this is just a chance to re-examine what I've done and just kind of fix up some of the stuff that, or just do another pass of this sort of detail, because I want to try and capture my concept. Or, you know, vaguely capture its essence. So, just kind of repeating myself there. Alright, let's take a look. What I'm going to do is let's version this up. And let's open up number 9. We'll just take a look at what's changed. So I think this up here, part of that I like, but I am losing a little bit of this in the brow by having done that. So I might want to come in, just kind of break that a little. Try and keep a little bit of what that was. Cool. Let's have a look at the nose. Okay. I might just try and blend this in here a little bit. And maybe also bring her cheeks out a little bit, just over there. So just kind of, yeah, monsterifying her just a little bit. Because I liked the way she was looking, but I think she was starting to look kind of too sort of kind of feminine in a more realistic sort of way. So I want to pull out here are these features so that she's still feminine but slightly kind of ugly, which is what I liked about the concept, right? Was that it's this demon lady. Okay. Then what I might do is taking a look at her from the side. she's a little bit like straight. I might push her chin back a little, pull out a bit more of her forehead. So what I might do is I've got, you know, this kind of like side profile of the face that I've been vaguely kind of looking at. I might, if we look right, her jaw is slightly kind of rotated down, whereas from the side view, the face is very flat at the moment. So I'm just gonna potentially pull that back. And just trying to think whether I want to define her jawline a little bit more, or even maybe bring her nose out. Let's have a look at the concept. Maybe I'll pull her nose down a little. So just very minor tweaks at the moment, just to try and figure out. I wanted to incorporate some of this kind of demonicness that she's got. Do you know what? I'm gonna do a little bit of that, push that back up. Might also pull her face down just a tad. Okay, so I think, you know, pretty happy with how that's looking. Generally, you can always make some more tweaks to our general kind of shape, but I think one other thing I might just do is I might bring a little bit more kind of mass under here. It's another thing that she's got in her concept. There's quite a kind of eye fold there, so let's try and bring a little bit more of that in. Get rid of her eyelash. We might pull her eye fold down a little bit more as well. Just undo that quickly. We'll drop her resolution down a step or two, blur that, and then add a bit more of this mass in here. Okay, so what I've got to be careful of there is not just pulling it out that way, but putting it down over her eye a little. So that's certainly yeah, I mean that's closer to the concept. I'm just not sure if I love it. But I think for the moment I'm going to stick with it. Might just bring that back a little. And maybe try and thin it out a little bit near. Okay. Alright, just go with that for the moment. And I'll just start to think about adding in the scar. So, you know, being kind of slow before I introduce that into our sculpt, just because it will break symmetry a little. Which then will make it, you know, potentially a little bit challenging. Or what I can do is put it onto a separate layer. And that way I can then adjust. Yeah, I might put it on a separate layer for the moment. Okay. So we'll keep that. Let's grab my Dame standard. Let's just see. That should be alright. Okay. So save this. And I'm going to... You know what? Before we do the scar, let's figure out the rest of these horns. So, you know, I've got this idea that they're kind of like broken. But what I'd like to do is maybe put in some actual detail onto them. So, just got some like kind of goat horn reference. One thing I might do though is maybe try and give the horns themselves a little bit more a unique sort of shape, which is a little bit off concept, but I think I'd prefer to having these just be kind of perfect cylinders. So I'm going to maybe just introduce a little bit of a crest in the horn there. try and sculpt some detail into it in a second, just once I figure out, yeah, what I'm gonna do in terms of the design here. Yeah, we'll definitely make that some sort of crest. Where's that gone? Just lost where I put my concept on Giraffe. Let's find it. It's right there. There it is. Okay, so what I'll do is let's try and put some detail into this. Gonna up the resolution of my Dynamesh. Just gonna look up another reference. Let's see if we can find a pattern that I like. That's kind of interesting. I might go for something a little bit simpler, like something kind of like that in terms of the detail. So I'm going to grab my clay build up. Clay build-ups just give me a kind of a nice sort of surface noise that kind of reads as like the sort of similarish sort of pattern that I'm trying to vaguely imitate. Using the clay build up, I'm going to start kind of breaking up this part of the horn a little. To kind of take it away from this sort of artificial, sort of broken, cartoony sort of spikes. Nothing to do, just be careful of. Actually, I might break that there, but something to be careful of is that it's kind of penetrating through itself, which I don't necessarily want. She swapped over to the clay brush. This bit here, because I was worried that that was starting to get a little bit noisy. It's kind of nice to have a bit of a separation between the details. Now, like, let's figure out what we're gonna do in here. I would suggest that this interior would be less crunchy, so we might just come in and smooth that, and I might build up some of that detail with the clay rather than the clay build up. Like that for the moment. Alright. Might just come in, try and might just with my clay brush try and put that in a little. Might give everything a bit of a quick kind of smooth to soften it. All right. Coming back over to the head. Let's try and kind of grow these horns or the skin here. So it is coming up. Try and get it to look a bit more natural and nice. One thing we might try, actually, we'll do that in a second. I'm just gonna try and push this up a little bit in certain places. Maybe around the back we can have it kind of build up a bit more than it was at the front. Let's have a look. Let's grab our inflate brush. We might just try and inflate kind of around where it's connecting, try and like fatten it up in between the exterior and the interior. What I might also do is come down and take a pass at doing some of this fabric. So I've got fabric folds on this concept. Let's just make sure that we do have enough reference. So this currently has a very low resolution, so let's just up that a little. Not sure before we do that, we might just smooth it back a little to try and sit it onto our skin. All right. Might be getting a little bit kind of noisy, so I might refine a couple of those back. I'm not a big fan of how this is turning out. It's very noisy. So that might be something I end up redoing at some point, just to try and make it read clearer, but let's just kind of, for the moment, take it back. And we can decide we need need to give this another pass. I think it's going to be too noisy and not really defined as any particular sort of fabric or clothing style. 'Cause it looks like she's not really wearing so much a dress as it is kind of like a baggy cloak. And I think that works as in the concept. She's got like a hand kind of up, and that cloak is kind of following that sort of thing. But when we've got it just as a kind of a buff, it doesn't read in the same way. So might kind of redesign what's going on here. Maybe just make it a bit more of a traditional sort of shoulder dress. I will just kind of finish off what I was doing so that we can kind of look at it a bit more on its own. There is a possibility that this can work. It does require us just to clean it up, maybe, and soften and remove a few of the some of the edges, but let's leave it like that for the moment, because yeah, this bit here especially looks very bizarre. Alright, for the moment we'll leave that. What's the time? Alright, we've got some time. So, I am going to, for the moment, add this to a layer, just so that I can nuke it if I don't like what I've got. Let's also store morph target and kind of just start by vaguely tracing out where on her face these scars are gonna sit. So turn off symmetry. Let's get rid of her hair. So, might on my stroke put this lazy mouse on. Okay, so we're gonna have kind of push it back behind her ear. It's going to get hidden by the hair. Now, the only problem, this is why we got that morph target saved. So I can come in and paint that out. And what I want to do is I want to have it come across her face, but I don't want it to go across her eye. I want it to kind of run down there, but I would also like it to go over a cheek. So what I will do is let's kind of do this in steps, right? Might actually look kind of cool having it go across her eyelid. I think that could look potentially cool. On the concept, it runs more like through there. Just think, is there any negative to doing that? Alright, let's do that. I reckon that will look cool. And then she's got just the combs kind of there. Let's put her hair back on just to see how much of that gets obscured. I reckon we'll go with that. Okay. Let's turn her hair back off. Alright, I've got some references of like stitches and scars. So I'm just adjusting and scaling my references up. So yeah, I've got a bunch of kind of concept scars and then some actual scars. Yeah, alright. I think I'm gonna do doing pretty kind of gnarly and gross. Let's come in and we will choose 1 to 2 areas to like really kind of carve that in. The only thing is, on the concept, it kind of stops there. I guess we can do. We've also got one, by the looks of it, across his shoulder. Have one going up her arm. So, you know what, I'm just going to, let's just commit to that. Because I want to up my resolution, but I think that's going to work, all right? But what I do want to do is add in some stitches, but I haven't decided whether or not to sculpt them or do them as separate bits of geo. I think doing them separate geo might be easier, so what I'm going to do is take this back into Maya. Let's go with that. Okay, so what do we got a newer version of Maya on here, I think. Maya 222. That should be enabled. Okay, what we'll do is let's try. Do you know what? Let's just. What's the time? 2:26. Alright, let's maybe. go with something kind of like that thickness, so it is visible. In terms of where they'll go, I guess we're more than free to kind of make that up. Useful tips for entering the industry. Suppose it depends on what part of the industry you're trying to enter. But I guess what I would say, at least, you know, just as a quick helpful tip now, is try and figure out what it is you want to do, right? Regardless of what kind of, if it's like hard surface modeling or sculpting or character art or environment art, it's really just work on doing personal projects, build up your portfolio demonstrating the skills that whatever part you're trying to enter requires, right? So if you're doing environment art, there's lots of models and pieces of environments, I guess. But yeah, definitely personal projects, you know, whatever just gets you doing something in your own time. If it's something that you're interested in learning or doing, you'll have a, you know, greater chance of success. But you will learn probably more picking something that you want to do but have never like done. You know, like whether it's through work or if you're at school studying, you know, you might not necessarily do the sort of assignments that cover specific sort of topics that you want to learn. So going out of your way to learn those things. One thing that's really important that you're able to do is self-teach and find the information you need. Most of the information exists out on the internet, right? But learning to Google is kind of its own skill. So being able to find the answers to the questions that you have, especially when it comes to learning a new skill. So that's another part of, you know, setting up your own personal projects. So, you know, for example, you know, faces and rendering realistic skin in Arnold is something that I've been interested in lately. Last year I was doing some more stuff in Unreal, so real-time kind of characters. And, you know, if it's something you've not done before, like skin in Arnold or skin even in a real-time setting like Unreal, being able to find the information and teach it to yourself, because it is out there, and being able to teach yourself how to do something new without needing someone to show you specifically, like in person, will help you then be able to do things for jobs, right? Find the information you'll need when trying to do something. So yeah, just figure out what it is you want and start building projects around it, and teaching yourself. Tons of programs out there that you'll need to know. So personal projects also force you into learning some of those programs that you'll need to get good at. So, you know, for a character artist, right, sculpting a ZBrush, Maya for remeshing and setting up shaders, Substance Painter or Mari when it comes to painting skin textures and stuff. All right, so this is where we've gotten today. So I haven't done a huge amount today, but, you know, that's another thing, right, with personal projects and doing them when you've got life stuff going on, is even if you don't get much done and you do 15 minutes a night, that's still 15 minutes that you hadn't done, right? So all that time eventually adds up, and you will get something, even if it takes you over 6 to 12 months to do it. At the end of that 6 to 12 months, with limited time, you still end up with something to show for it. So you always want to be doing probably just a little bit, even if you are, you know, strapped for time, because it will eventually get there. So, you know, for example, you know, I'm mucking around for an hour and a bit, and I haven't maybe done a huge amount today, but still it's taken a step forward. So, you know, when we first opened her up to what we've got at the moment, you know, I've got changes to the shape, right, of the face to try and make her a little less feminine, a bit more scary, a bit closer to the concept. You know, I've done some more to the horns. I've started blocking out ideas for what the fabric will be, and then starting this sort of like scar detail. So even in, you know, I haven't finished it today. It's a slight step forward, and yeah, you know, it's one small step that needs to be done. So always doing a little bit every night is a massive tip for, you know, building up your skill set and your portfolio. Things like a portrait, especially if you're trying to do the whole pipeline, right, takes, you know, there's lots of little steps and a lot of just you know, quality of life stuff to make it good. So I didn't do it in the stream, but like last night and the night before, you know, I went through and remeshed and did a UVs, and that's a thing that just takes time. Doesn't look like, you know, you've done much when, you know, the week before you had the sculpt, because the sculpt hasn't changed, but even just doing the UVs and the topology moves me forward. Cool. So we're, you know, at 4ish, and that's usually when I'm stopping. So yeah, I think for the moment that's what we'll do. I'll probably end up doing a little bit of extra in this in my own time, just to kind of move it forward a bit. So what we'll probably end up with at the end of the our session kind of next week is we'll get finished with our sculpt and with some like pore details, I think. So I'll probably set that up, the pores, and get that kind of ready to go for next week. And probably won't do X-Gen hair because that's going to take too long, but we'll get the hair sculpt itself kind of done. So at least like a ZBrush sculpt, she's going to look complete, and then we can, you know, I can at least move it on into finishing it in terms of rendering and stuff. Cool.